Call this meeting to order tonight. If we should encounter an emergency situation, we will exit the building. There's 2 sets of doors off of the lobby. If for some reason those doors are not available, there's another set of doors behind council chambers here. Our muster point is located near the gazebo in Lions Park, and if we are evacuated for any reason, we will not re-enter the building until we are given an all clear from staff. The purpose of tonight's hearing is an appeal was received against a decision of the licensing inspector rendered on February 24th, 2025 in regards to the revocation of a short-term accommodation rental license star 04125. So I'll start with an introduction of those in the room. The committee tonight is made up of council, so maybe we'll just do a round of introductions rather than hearing my monologue. If you could start with your name and title. Councillor Payne. I covered it, but. Okay.
Graham Parsons, councillor.
Megan Hansen, I'm the mayor.
Shereen Dakin, councillor.
Teresa Reeling, councillor.
Tim Mearns, councillor.
Betty Osmond, I'm the Chief Administrative Officer, and to be clear, I'm not part of the decision panel.
Mr. McIntyre, can we continue introductions with you? And again, only those on council will be a part of the decision-making process. The rest are here for observation, advice, and guidance.
Good evening, Sean McIntyre, General Manager of Community Services and External Relations.
I'm Jolene Reynolds, the Legislative Services Clerk.
Mrs. Ornella. Ms. Devlin.
I'm Kim Devlin. I'm the General Manager of Infrastructure and Business Services.
Excellent. You'll notice we're all using microphones tonight. That is because it is our practice that we live stream any meeting of council, which this is. So to do that, they can't hear a thing that doesn't happen into the microphone. So we'll continue to use those just in case there's a captive audience online, which there typically isn't. And maybe we can continue with, well, should we do introductions? Can you introduce who you've got here with you?
Sure. I'm Kyle Huffman. This is my wife, Jordan Huffman. Hello. And this is Braden with Nomadics.
Excellent. Welcome. The hearing process, cross-examination, just so we all know the ground rules for this evening, cross-examination by parties will not be permitted. However, committee members may ask questions of any party to clarify matters or question evidence. A maximum of 15 minutes is permitted for each of the presentations, and we will follow an order for the presentations tonight. We'll start with an opening statement by the licensing inspector for the town, then we'll have the presentation by the appellant, then presentation of witnesses for the appellant, then we'll have the summation by the licensing inspector for the town, and finally the decision of the committee. So after we hear all of the evidence, we will go in closed session to discuss and ask for any further advice. You are welcome to wait until we come out, but we will not come out with an immediate decision. That will be rendered to you within 7 days in writing. So you're free to go home once we have completed that portion of it. Now, we can start the hearing. I want to note if there's any preliminary matters to be dealt with this time, and I know there was some technical difficulties when it came to you receiving your package. So I wanted to check in. This would be an opportunity if you do feel that you need some additional time. We are happy to have that discussion.
We're fine to proceed tonight.
Excellent, thank you. And I will note that council did receive their packages last week, so they did have time to go over it, and our apologies for the technical challenges that delayed you receiving the full package. And if you'd like to discuss that, we're happy to give you a couple minutes of a recess.
No, it's fine. I would just, one part of the packages that I did submit, I would like council just to start at page 23, or sure. 22, sorry. Not the first one that I sent in, just the second one for the appeal for our side of stuff.
Excellent. We will note that as we go through the process here. Okay, with that, we will call the licensing inspector for the town, Rayanne Ornella, for an opening statement.
Good evening. All righty. So, on June 23rd, 2022, an online application was received from Jordan Hanna and Kyle Andrews Hoffman for a short-term accommodation rental license for 4115 Lakeshore Drive, Sylvan Lake. June 30, the application fee was received and the application was submitted for review. On August 10th, 2022, while reviewing the application, advertisement was found on nomadics.ca for 4 separate short-term accommodation rentals at 4115 Lakeshore Drive. They were noted to be the Tahiki, which is a secondary suite, the Mahalo, a garage suite, the Ohana, a primary, and the for all 3 units. August the 11th, 2022, a conversation with one of the owners, Mr. Kyle Huffman, regarding the advertisements. Mr. Huffman apologized, stated that all the ads had been removed, and that he wanted to work with the town. Mr. Huffman was advised that the primary unit and the secondary suite could be combined as 1 unit for the purpose of a short-term accommodation rental, and that the garage suite could not be used as a short-term accommodation rental. August 11th, 2022, email from one of the owners, Jordan Hanna, was with updated information for the STAR application that included additional photos and evacuation plan. August 12th, 2022, an email response from Kyle Huffman with a name change from the STAR from the Lakeshore to the Ohana, and an additional email containing the statement, thank you again for everything so far. Working with you, and the process has been very straightforward. August 15th, 2022, the STAR application was approved. Email was sent to both applicants which outlined conditions of the approval. 2 of the stated conditions were 4 parking stalls at the rear of the property, and the garage suite is not included in STAR approval. If the garage suite is used for long-term rentals, an additional parking space must be provided for the garage suite. August 16th, 2022, license fee was received and the STAR license was issued. May 17th, 2024, evidence was discovered on a short-term accommodation rental on bookings.com for the Mahalo, which sleeps 5. The advertisement contained the address of 4115 Lakeshore Drive, photos of the garage suite, the STAR license number that had been issued for the main house, a review that stated the Courage House was top of the line, and it should be noted that the site allowed me to book for 4 nights from June 2nd to June 6th, 2024. On May 17th, 2024, I attended the property and took photos. The photos show signage for the Mahalo parking in the rear of the property. The parking area was approved for the use of the approved STAR of the Ohana and not the garage with the Mahalo. May 17th, 2024, the notice of non-compliance was sent to the property owners, Kyle Andrews Huffman and Jordan Hanna. The notice stipulated, point 1, the contraventions of regulations for a STAR by advertising the garage suite, the Mahalo as a short-term accommodation rental, permitted the garage suite, the Mahalo, to operate on a parcel where only 1 short-term accommodation rental is permitted, breached the conditions of the STAR license STAR 04125, which stipulated that the garage suite is not included in the STAR approval. Point 2 stipulated that you are hereby notified that the non-compliance notice is a warning that any further infraction will result in the revoking of the STAR license STAR 04125. Additionally, a letter was sent with the notice to explain the findings and the decision. A municipal tag was issued for $500 for marketing a short-term accommodation rental without a valid license. May 27th, 2024, I received a phone call from Riley with Nomadics. Riley advised that he manages the rental for the owners. He apologized that the listing for a short-term rental was mistakenly put on bookings.com. On May 30th, 2024, another telephone call from Riley followed up with an email. The email included screenshots from Airbnb and VRBO. This ad also included the STAR license number. The email stipulated that we realized we were displaying the STR business license when we didn't need to. That is our fault, so it will be removed. Please reconsider the fine, as this was an honest mistake. May 31st, 2024, an email response was sent back to Riley with Nomadics. On June 6, 2024, the fine was paid by Kyle Huffman with a credit card online, and his comments on the payment stating rental without valid license. On June 6, 2024, another telephone call from Riley with Nomadics asking if I would cancel the fine. Riley was advised that the fine had been paid. February 24, 2025, evidence of a short-term accommodation rental advertisement discovered on Airbnb for the Mahalo Sleeps 5. The advertisement contained photos of the garage suite, the same photos that had been used in the advertisement in May of 2024 on bookings.com. The Star license number that had been issued for the main house, and several reviews from previous guests. On February 27, 2025, notice of revocation and a letter of explanation was sent via registered mail to Jordan Hanna and Kyle Andrews Huffman. Canada Post acknowledges that the registered mail was received on February the 28th, 2025. On February the 28th, 2025 at 9:40 a.m., a voicemail message from Kyle Hoffman was left regarding fines received. February 28th, 2025 at 1:23 p.m., another voicemail message from Kyle Huffman regarding the letter he received about the Star. Both phone calls went to voicemail as I was not in the office on February 28th, 2025. On March 2nd, 2025, which was a Sunday, at 9:42 p.m., records show that an email was sent to myself from Kyle Huffman regarding the revocation. March 3rd, both voicemails were listened to and the email from Mr. Hoffman was read. March 4th, 2025, in the process of responding to Mr. Huffman's email, he attended the office. I took Mr. Hoffman into a meeting room and discussed his concerns about the revocation and the fines. Mr. Huffman asked, what can he do about the revocations and the fines? With regard to the revocations, he was advised that he could appeal the decision as outlined in the letter. With regards to the fine, he was advised that if he did not feel he was guilty of the offenses that he received the tags for, that he did not need to pay, and that I would rewrite them into a provincial court ticket that would include a court date where we could go and dispute the fines. Mr. Hoffman explained that he had many properties, children, and a busy job, so he hires people to manage his properties. Mr. Hoffman advised that Riley from Nomadics had told him that everything was good with his property. Mr. Huffman stated that he would appeal the decision. I brought him downstairs and requested that Legislative Service assist him with the appeal process.
Sorry, I'm reading fine print here at the same time. Excellent. All right, next we will move. Questions from the committee. Should they happen at this place for Ms. Ornella or at the end of the process, Ms. Osmond?
Your Worship, if there's any questions with respect to process or any of the information Ms. Ornella presented, Council could ask them at this time, or there will be another opportunity. It's up to you.
Okay, great. I'll say, are there any pressing questions to be asked at this time then, Council? Seeing no, all right. We look forward to hearing from Mr. and Mrs. Huffman. Welcome. You can have a seat in the same spot. If you can start by turning on your microphone, then we're happy to hear from you.
Hi. So I don't comment on anything, I just present what I have, or?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm seeing head nods. Someone will tell me if that is incorrect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, you know, this appeal process has been not super clear from the town. So I initially supplied my reasons to the appeal and then added evidence to it. Starting on page 22 is the only document that I want, if you guys could focus on tonight, my original one. Between those timeframes, I was able to gather some more information and evidence and kind of put together our side of the situation to better present it to you guys tonight. So going through that on page 22 there, so myself, my wife, we reside in Sylvan Lake here. We got 2 young kids. We're big in the community. We live here. We participate in events. We love the town, and we love having the opportunity to share that with people that come here through our Airbnb and our rentals that we have here. In November of 21, we purchased that property on Lakeshore Drive there. As Rayanne mentioned there, we went through the licensing with the town it is a unique property with 3 legal suites in it. So we worked with the town to see what we were approved for. By no means tonight am I denying our license or what we're approved for. The issues, so the second round of tickets here that we have are kind of key arguments to the points, is the garage suite was not intended for short-term rentals. Our intent with the garage suite is for long-term or mid-term 30-day rentals on there. And with the evidence that I'm supplying supports that claim. I understand that the Star license was advertised in our short-term ad. So we advertised the Mahalo on Airbnb because it is a great platform for people in the area that do look for work or monthly rentals through that. So we do advertise through that. I brought Braden along tonight to comment more on the back end of Nomadix of how information gets pushed through their software and then along multiple booking websites. And since that property shares an address, unfortunately that Star license was duplicated and carried over. Supporting our 30-day rental claims, I attached some evidence of a couple recent leases that we had for that property, along with a screenshot of the past year and a bit of how many days was our average booking or for those bookings for the property. That was supplied to me from Nomadix. And then it's clear that in our ads as well too, we advertise that it is for 30+ days only, which is included in or advertised on our ads. Rayanne mentioned that she was able to book a property, but there is a difference between getting approved for a stay and putting a request in for a property on these booking websites. So anyone can put a request in, but it needs to go through a process through Airbnb, which they are through a third-party vending application with the tenants or people wanting to stay there. They're able to deny or approve their use at that property. So point number 2 there was the incorrect use of the Star license. As I mentioned, yes, it was a mistake. When we originally got our first fine for that back in May, I directed Riley to communicate with the town. As mentioned, life gets pretty busy and we have a property management team to help take some of the day-to-days of running the property. So Riley reached out to Rayanne to communicate the issue. She did respond to the email of us saying that it was only for 30 days, saying thanks, this information will be reviewed, but there was no further conversation to that point. There was no back and forth saying, okay, great, let's do this. It was very one-sided. Hey, we supplied the information. I did end up paying the fine as it was in my personal name and I didn't want to have it hanging over and clear it. It wasn't a mission of guilt. It was just, hey, let's pay it, let's move forward. From the conversation of the information that we supplied to Rayanne of the original ticket saying, hey, this property is only for 30 days. You know, it was under the understanding that we were advertising the property the correct way. If we had some more better dialogue between the town and ourselves, I think that we could have come to a better understanding of what actually needed to be changed, instead of the conversation kind of ending with, here's your fine and we'll review it, and then it kind of ended that way. So we're always working with the town, happy to have conversations and work with it. That brings us to the third point of when an issue did arise, we were very proactive and worked with David, who is a police officer. So David reached out to us to let us know that there was an issue with our parking and some guests were parking out front of our property, which apparently, or does belong to the town, and that he needed all the guests to park in the back. So we quickly informed the property management team, who then relayed that information to the guests, which I have some evidence in the supporting material of the communication that went on. But just the communication with David through email, saying, hey, this is what needs to be done, us going back and forth, getting on it right away. Of course, we did have the follow-up with guests, as they don't always listen the best, but it just shows that we're open, we're working. We weren't like, hey, no, you know, we're gonna park there regardless. We wanna work with the town and make things resolve. I think just communication back and forth communication is important in that aspect. So our main focus here is that we don't The garage suite was always intended for 30-day rentals. We were not doing the short-term rentals. The Star license advertised in the ad, yes, was a mistake on our end, and I'm gonna have Braden comment on the back end of Nomadics of why that issue was. A proposed resolution of how we can move forward. Again, we're always, we're here, we're fighting for the property. We want to still have it involved in the town and work with the town to make sure that it is an opportunity for people to come and use. If it's a probation period, a different fine, we're happy to even look at taking, even though Airbnb is a great source for 30+ day rentals for that property, we would be open to removing it completely from it and just focus on maybe Facebook or Rent Faster or the longer term rental websites. We will look at that as well too. We're committed to compliance where now we've entered agreement with Nomadics as we're personally co-managing the listing. Before, Nomadics had all the control over it and it was a reach out process, but to make things quicker, if I need to make changes and I see something that are out of line with the ad, will have access to go in and change those ads moving forward. So we've made a lot of effort to demonstrate our commitments and compliance to respond to the concerns and work in good faith with the town. Taking away our license on this property is a significant financial hardship. It was a major investment for our family in this town to develop the property, furnish it, get it advertised. Given the evidence that I provided here in the book, including the proof of the long-term rentals, proactive resolution of the issues that we're willing to work with, and make further adjustments moving forward as well too, we believe the decision to revoke our license is excessive. I respectfully ask the town to consider a fair resolution to allow us to continue operating within the guidelines, support local tourism, and offer our guests a positive and reliable experience in Sylvan Lake. The one thing I wanted, and I'm gonna have Braden will comment on the ad postings and just more of the back end of Airbnb stuff, as that's his specialty. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, do we have any questions? Councilor Parsons?
Is parking compliant now?
That's a great question.
So once I was notified of through the registered mail of the license, we took down all advertising of the property to work with the town for a resolution. The main issue at hand is that, so there's 3 legal suites on the property. Our short-term license is for the main house, which does have a basement suite, but we're counting it as one property, as one house, and that's what we got approved for. There is a detached garage suite, which we weren't allowed to include it as one property for the short-term license, but we're allowed to long-term that one. So, as Sylvan Lake is very seasonal, having that long-term in the winter months really does help kind of carry some of the costs in the winter time. So the issue is us advertising that garage suite as a short-term rental is pretty much. So right now the property could be compliant. We just took down all the ads until this is rectified.
Does that answer your question? Maybe? It could be a question for Ms. Ornella.
Yeah,
if you want to pause that one.
And Ms. Ornella, can I ask her?
Let's wait until we pull her back up at the end.
We'll wait till
Hold
we
that
follow
thought.
the rules.
I do have a question on your evidence. On page 32 of the package, it's got a confirmation of booking for 30+ days, and it looks like there's a filter on for that. Can I just confirm? So all bookings in the last year have been for 30+ days, or is that just what you're showing? Is there a filter set on this data that just shows bookings over that amount?
I'm not entirely sure. Braden will have to comment on it because he supplied that information to me.
Okay, I will ask that question when we get there. The other portion of it that could be one that's deferred as well. From looking at this data, it looks like the property was vacant over all of the summers. Is that actually
For which one?
what took place? On page 32. It doesn't show, I was using my squinting eyes, so maybe I'm also reading incorrectly, and I'm happy to hold off that question.
Like this one here?
It looks like this with some green on it.
Oh yeah, so, based off these dates?
Yes.
So depending on when the bookings are, sometimes you'll have a long-term. This is just pulled from our Airbnb platform. We rented it through, like, the leases that I included there would be through Facebook advertisement or on Rent Faster, so different platforms for long-term. This is just pulled from the Airbnb website, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was it vacant over the summer? Or is that just a different data set that would show those booking dates?
No, there was probably somebody in there for
Okay.
the summer. Usually summers are
That
quite
time.
busy.
This is
yeah.
just one of the platforms. Thank you. Council, do we have any additional questions? Other than the need for some magnifying glasses. With no further questions, we will let you call your witness.
Mine first?
Yes.
Cool.
Thank you, everyone. Councilors, Mayor, it's nice to meet everybody. I am the owner of Nomadics. So the property that we're fighting for today is this main house. Just to reiterate what Kyle was saying, the problem, or the reason why we're here today is this garage suite. We're not fighting for the garage suite. This garage suite's never gonna be listed on any platforms again. The one that we just want to appeal to is the main house, which has never, ever caused any issues. So this garage suite, we have kept it on what's predominantly short-term rental platforms in order to attract midterm stays. So we take stays for travel nurses, we've done RCMP transfers before, we've done construction workers, anybody that's coming in for jobs, they're coming in, there's a huge market for midterm stays, and because we weren't allowed to rent this thing for underneath 30 days, that's where we've attracted them. And it's the same platform, whether you're looking for short-term stays, long-term stays, or midterm stays. You just basically have to make sure that you don't accept any stays less than 30 days. So you can find, if anybody's going on Airbnb, they can find our platform, but that doesn't mean we're necessarily gonna accept their booking. We're not gonna confirm, we're not gonna actually allow them to stay. Even somebody can send us a message, somebody can find it for any sort of date, but they have to go through a whole bunch of hurdles and guest verification, and we have to, they have to jump through a ton of hoops before they actually come and stay with us. So that's the main issue at hand. The other thing with the STAR license, that was us as the property management company. Our back end, we list all of our properties on over 40 different platforms. So in order to push it and control, if we need to tweak a listing, we're not gonna wanna go into every single platform individually and change something. So we listed on what's called a channel manager, and that channel manager communicates to all the other platforms, but sometimes they just don't communicate very well. That's the main issue. Regulations are fairly new in the industry, so maybe although Airbnb has a text box where we can input the business license, maybe Booking.com doesn't. So in order to fix that, sometimes we'll put the business license in multiple areas. We duplicated the listing because the same address, a lot of the information is going to be the same. We duplicated the listing, which duplicated the business license. And then when Rayanne told us that the business license was in the listing, we removed it from the business license text box, but we totally missed that it was in another area. It was in the other things to note section, so it was in multiple areas. And so although we removed it for one, it was still in the listing for the other. And we never got confirmation after that. There was no like, hey, we're good to go. So we just assumed we were good to go and moved on. We shouldn't have assumed. We learned our lesson. We definitely deserve that. The other issue at hand is the parking. That one, I think it was fixed right away. Like, I don't think there was it. We were told about the parking. We fixed it. I don't see any other issues in that. The major issue that we're arguing that was or wasn't fixed was this 30-day plus stay thing, whereas that is totally, all it was midterm stays. There are, to answer your question, we cannot guarantee if somebody books with us for more than 30 days, then they're gonna stay for 30 days. That's to answer your question. Sometimes if we have a travel nurse, they're like, okay, I'm coming in for a 3-month contract, but then their contract will get canceled early. So we can never actually guarantee how long they're going to stay for, although we make sure at the time when we're accepting bookings that they're booking for a minimum of 30 days or more so that we're compliant. So those are the main issues. I just want to add, so we started in Sylvan Lake, which like Sylvan Lake is that's where our heart is. All my family's still in Black Falls, but we've been lucky enough to expand to over 16 different markets in BC, Alberta, Ontario, and Sylvan Lake. Out of the towns that are regulated, Sylvan Lake is the only one that doesn't have a process set in place to deal directly with the property management company. So often, like our owners, they're very hands-off. Like Kyle's got kids, he's got a family. He doesn't necessarily want to have the time to deal with this stuff. He wants to focus on being a part of his community, spending time with his kids. So they hire us, but then what happens if there's no process in place to communicate directly with the property management company is it just ends up being like a long game of telephone, you know? So somebody reaches out to the owners reach out to their account manager, then the account manager has to reach out to the marketing team, whereas other towns, they just have a little form. And it's just like, give us your property management company's details, and the details we give is the exact person that you'd need to contact if there's any changes whatsoever. So there's no loss in communication. It's very efficient. It's way less likely the ball's gonna get dropped. So I would definitely recommend adding something. It's 2 lines. What's your property management company? And are you using a property management company? Yes, no, who are they? Name, number, done. That's it. Other than that, I am finished.
Let's start with questions. Councilor Mearns.
Yeah, further to your point about the 30 days staying and not knowing if people will stay. So if someone books 30 days, is that blocked off for 30 days and no one can rent even if they only stay 16?
Yeah, it's blocked but if they cancel their stay, it clears the calendar.
So potentially it could be booked a couple times then?
That is possible. So I guess, and these are the things that come up, and if this is defined that's against regulations, then we probably just can't use a strategy at all. But it's probably just never been a conversation within the town, and this is a great chance for that to happen and for us to either you guys become more clear in your definitions, no advertising at all, or maybe if you take a booking for more than 30 days, that you must block out that extra time period, even if the guest cancels. That's not within our control. Like we don't open the calendar. Airbnb or whatever platform's being used opens up the calendar. But we could, if this was part of your bylaws, we could go in there manually and block out those days.
My question, just to be crystal clear, understanding that not all people stay for the amount of time that they've blocked off, but in the last 3 years, the garage suite, am I correct that it has never been permitted to be booked for a period of less than 30 days? Whether they stayed that amount, but every contract has been a 30-day or more contract.
At time of booking, every stay has been over 30 days.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, so that is another thing. So regardless of their stay, good point, Kyle, thank you. Airbnb charges a 14% service fee to the guest and a 3% service fee to the host, and then there's a whole bunch of taxes, and it ends up being over 20% premium to pay on a platform. It's really crazy. So what happens often, if a guest is ever looking to extend their reservation, we try to extend them off platform And on top of that, a lot of guests have gotten pretty wise to the fact that they could book directly with you. So often they'll book. You cannot exchange phone numbers until a booking's in place. So often, as soon as somebody is booked, okay, now we have each other's phone numbers, and we could communicate off platform. And they'll ask, hey, if I cancel the rest of my stay, can I just book directly with you, and we'll save that 20% of fees. So that does happen as well.
Council, do we have any additional questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
All right, next we will move back to the licensing inspector for the town, Ms. Ornella.
As the licensing inspector for the town of Sylvan Lake, I am designated and authorized to administer and enforce the regulations of the short-term accommodation rental licensing bylaw 1842-2021. As per the preamble of the bylaw and the Municipal Government Act, a council may pass bylaws for municipal purposes respecting the safety, health, and welfare of people and the protection of people and property. On February 24th, 2025, as the licensing inspector, I revoked the short-term accommodation rental license for Jordan Hanna and Kyle Andrews Huffman for 4115 Lakeshore Drive, Sylvan Lake. This decision did not come lightly and without careful review of the history of continuous contraventions and non-compliance regarding this residential property. The town does not dispute that 4115C Lakeshore Drive, aka the Mahala, is periodically utilized for rentals of more than 28 days. But the evidence shows that it is also being utilized for short-term accommodation rentals of less than 28 days. In the town's disclosure submission under Exhibit H, which is on page 46, evidence is provided of the Mahalo listing. You will note that I was able to reserve the dates of April 26, 2025 to May 1st, 2025. This is further confirmed on page 47, where the trip dates are listed along with the price detail. Exhibit C, page 49. Evidence is provided of the fraudulent use of the short-term accommodation rental license, STAR-04125. This license number was issued for the main house, including the secondary suite to be utilized as a short-term accommodation rental with the address of 4115 Lakeshore Drive. Exhibit C, page 50 and 51, evidence of reviews of past customers that had stayed at the Mahalo. Some of the reviews stated, September 24th, stayed a few nights, to which Nomadics responded, I am so glad you enjoyed your stay. Nomadics would love to have you stay again whenever you're in town. September 20, 2024, stayed a few nights, and further stated, my mother and I stumbled on Sylvan Lake as we were making our way towards Calgary to end our 14-day Canadian Rockies road trip. November 2024, stayed a few nights, to which Nomadics responded, we're so glad to hear you enjoyed your stay with Nomadics Vacation Rental. We hope to welcome you back again soon. As noted in my opening statement, the appellant has been notified by myself 3 different times for contraventions. August the 10th, 2022, during the review of the appellant's STAR application, 4 separate advertisements were found for the property for the short-term accommodation rentals without a valid license. This is Exhibit D on page 67. This information was relayed to the appellant, and on August the 11th, 2022, I spoke with one of the owners, Mr. Kyle Huffman, who advised that all the listings had been removed and apologized, stating he wanted to work with the town. May 17th, 2024, advertisement was found for short-term accommodation rental for the garage suite, the Mahalo. That's Exhibit J, pages 80 through 83. A notice of non-compliance was sent to the owners, Exhibit G, pages 74 through 75. The notification clearly stated that any future infractions will result in the revoking of the STAR license STAR-04125. It should be noted that at no time did I receive a telephone call, an email, or a visit from either of the property owners, Andrews Huffman or Jordan Hanna. On on February the 24th, 2025, advertisement was found for a short-term accommodation rental for the garage suite, the Mahalo, Exhibit A, pages 46 through 51. In the disclosure of the applicant's submission, point 1, pages 22 through 24, the appellant states that steps were taken to ensure compliance, promptly restricted the calendar to only allow 30+ days, updated the listing, secured long-term tenants. When did any of this occur? There are no dates provided. Was it after the notice of non-compliance in May of 2024 or after receiving the notice of revocation in February of 2025? The second paragraph states, when we were notified in February 27th letter, Nomadics was asked to investigate. They stated that they found syncing errors. This acknowledges that the property was marketed as available for a short-term accommodation rental. Point 2 on pages 24 to 25, incorrect use of the sister property star license. The appellant states, Nomadic's listing platform requires license numbers to be placed in the property description for visibility and compliance purposes. If the reference the appellant's disclosure on page 34, they have circled that the license number is not defined. Does this imply that the license number is no longer advertised, or is that it is not required at all? Also on page 34, it further states, insurance compliance by adding the license number and/or owner name if required by local jurisdiction. This statement implies that the last name could have been used and not the star license number. By using a short-term accommodation rental license number on the listing, it suggests the property is a short-term accommodation rental. The appellant states, Nomadics promptly removed the license number from the public description. Obviously, this did not occur as the Mahalo continued to have the star license number listed. The appellant states, with regards to the star license being advertised, it was clearly an oversight. This again is an excuse for non-compliance. The appellant states, call the town 3 times a day for 3 consecutive days, leaving voicemails each time. I've also sent an email which went unanswered. I have sent 2 follow-up emails which have also gone unanswered. This is an extreme exaggeration of the facts as outlined in my opening statement. Based on this statement, Mr. Huffman would have called the office between 12 to 15 times. There were 2 calls while I was out of the office and 1 email again while I was out of the office. The appellant states, a more direct and responsive channel between the town and the individual managing the listing could have resolved this quickly and prevented further penalties. The notice of non-compliance in May of 2024 and the notice of revocation that was sent in February of 2025 was sent to the appellants, not the property management company. There is nothing on the STAR application that indicates they were using a property management company. The application requires the 24-hour contact telephone number and emails for the STAR. The application contained Kyle Huffman's telephone number and Jordan Hanna's email address as the 24-hour contact information. There was no indication on Nomadics on this application. The STAR application requires all websites where the STAR is advertised, to which the applicant stated Airbnb, Vrbo, and Facebook Marketplace. Again, no indication of Nomadics. Ultimately, it is the responsibility of the property owner who is the applicant to manage their property. It is not the responsibility of the town to try and determine who is managing a property. Point 3, proactive action to address the parking issues. Although this point has no relevance to the revocation, I will point out a few inconsistencies. Pages 38 and 39, you will note that the date on the email communication has been removed, except for the last email dated October 13th, 2024. The appellant stated, took swift, cooperative steps to resolve this concern. In fact, it should be noted that the original email to the appellant regarding the parking was in fact August 12, 2024. The matter took 2 months to resolve, therefore I challenge the statement swift. Supporting document number 1, screenshots of listings stating 30-plus day rentals only, page 27. The listing stated, it is also only available for 30-plus day rentals. Send us a message to inquire for more details. By using the words, it is also, the statement becomes very ambiguous and can be understood in more than one ways due to its wording. There are 2 signed lease agreements for a minimum of 1 month. Supporting document 1A for Wayne, and I won't attempt to pronounce the last name, but it was stipulated for 4115C Lakeshore Drive. The lease date was December 30th, 2024. There was no indication of when the end date was, as we were only permitted to see the first page of that contract. And this was signed by Kyle Huffman. The second supporting document 1B for Vicky at 4115 Lakeshore Drive, which is the address for the main property. This lease was from September 27, 2024, and again, no end date as we were not provided the full lease agreement. This one was signed by Braden with Nomadics. It should be noted that on this lease agreement, the tenant acknowledges receipt of an executed copy of this agreement dated September 27, 2025. I question the validity of that document. Supporting documents 1C, confirmation of bookings 30-plus days. It stipulates that Tristan from March 3rd, 2025 to April 6, 2025. Going to the next supporting document of 1D, it shows the same gentleman booking from March 3rd to April 25th, 2025. It's inconsistent with the original one presented. There shows 2 bookings in 2024 and 7 bookings in 2023. There are many inconsistencies in the booking dates that have been provided, with several of the dates provided for 2023 overlapping. It is noted that where there does not appear to be a 30-plus day rentals in any of the peak summer months. Supporting document 1E, settings from property management company showing 30-plus days booking only. There is no date on this document, so it cannot be determined when these settings were done. Supporting documents 2A, emails to the town did not receive a response. Email was received by the town of Sylvan Lake on Sunday, March 2nd, 2025 at 9:42 p.m. On March 4th, 2025 at 10 a.m., I was in the process of responding to the email when the appellant, Kyle Huffman, attended the office. A meeting was had and everything had been discussed in the meeting. There was no need to respond to the email. On March 4th at 2025 at 12:42 p.m., I'm going to pass over that. The appellant also stated that there was 2 follow-up emails that had been sent since the meeting on the March 4th, 2025. There is only a record of 1 follow-up email that was sent to Jolene Reynolds, and I was CC'd on this email. This was not an email for me to respond to. It is my belief that the decision to revoke the short-term accommodation rental license to Jordan Hanna and Kyle Andrews Huffman for 4115 Lakeshore Drive, Sylvan Lake, should be upheld. And your questions.
Thank you. We will start with questions. Councillor Parsons?
Okay. The question being is, this property has 2 short-term rental pieces to it and the 1 grad suite, right? So is there enough, if it's all filled, is it compliant with parking?
Okay, so the main house and the secondary suite are approved as 1 unit, 1 short-term rental only. They cannot be operated separately. And with the approval, they had to have 4 parking stalls. The 4 parking stalls are in the rear of the property and they are permitted to have them as tandem parking.
Thank you. Additional questions?
Are you running, sorry, about the, okay, let me continue. In the approval, it was stipulated that if the garage suite was to be utilized as a long-term rental, additional parking must be made available. I have never received anything from the applicant. They have a triple-car garage, I believe it is, under the suite that could be utilized. The parking is there, but again, I wasn't advised how it would be utilized for the garage suite. Yes.
Additional questions? Mine is a bit of a process question because we're new at this. Are we making a decision based on solely on the evidence that we have, or if there's additional information, do we have an opportunity to request that? And I'll give my specific example. I would love to see a 12-month listing of every rental that has taken place in this property to see if that lines up with the other bits of data here. And it's not something that's provided all in one place, or because that was not included, is that not something we could request?
My understanding is that all evidence had to be presented for the appeal hearing, and that no other additional information came in after the fact.
Okay.
If there was additional information like tonight that they wanted to present, they could ask the chair if they could present it during the hearing.
But I guess I'm asking is, can we request additional information, or is what we have what we need to make decisions based off of?
My understanding is that all information had to be received for the hearing.
Okay. Thank you. That does make it a challenge. They didn't know what our questions were, so hard for us to know what the questions are ahead of time, but thank you. Any additional questions, council? Okay, seeing none, that is the conclusion of this portion of the hearing. Our next step is the committee will go in closed session to make their decision. I don't.
So she just spoke as her own witness?
Yes, I believe she did. Although, sorry, this is a process question. Yeah, it did say at the start that, yes.
If there are witnesses from the town. So if the town presented witnesses, then the appellant has the opportunity to.
But you just spoke as a witness.
No, I gave a closing statement.
Can I have a closing statement?
Let us take a 5-minute process recess here, and then we will continue on we'll see where we go from there. So let's take 5 and just ensure we've got that process correct. Thank you. No, Jazz had to depart. He had Okay, we've received some wisdom, and what we hear is that our process is our process, and we do have to conclude the hearing and then go into the closed session portion. So we will need to do that, and we will be back with further information within 7 days. Thank you.
The committee go into a closed meeting.
All those in favor and opposed? That is carried. Thank you.